go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Z, Y, X, W, B.
Hello, test 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, hello, test 1, 2, 3. Well, good evening everybody, welcome along to another night of Fortune White liberally called Community Matters. This is the program where we talk to not only sitting councillors but would-be councillors who are standing for the Maraboutou District Council tonight. As well as answering questions, we'll certainly be having some entertainment a little later on. Kathy's here. Some people would say she's a bit folk, some people would say she's a bit country, but no one would say she's a bit rock and roll. So we're going to have a little bit of music, a couple of songs, and they're going to be original songs as well. I'd like to acknowledge to the sponsors for tonight, Video Hub, also got some real estate, Drover's Bar and Kitchen. I saw the pizzas coming out a little earlier. Also, Your Essential Wellbeing and Event Tech. A little later on in the night, after we've spoken to our individual two sitting councillors tonight and one wannabe standing, we'll also, that's Hilary, Stuart and Amber, will also come out into the audience so you can have an opportunity to answer or ask a question of the three people that are with us tonight. Local body elections have always drawn pretty low numbers in New Zealand. Sadly, it is an absolute ideal way to get democracy going in action. It's around 29% of people vote, more in the national elections of course, but councils are a very, very important part of what we do, and I think for you people to turn out to have a listen tonight is great, because it means you understand democracy, you want to know what these people stand for, who they are, what they've done, what their backgrounds are, and certainly what they want to achieve, if they're still sitting councillors, and also Amber, who is a want-to-be councillor. So you've got an opportunity to ask questions of her as well. Start, hey?
Hello.
Tonight. Welcome along once again. We had a good time last week.
What fun, yes.
3 councillors and interesting questions and some good questions from the floor, I thought.
I thought so too. So I've had the pleasure of interviewing our 3 candidates for today, and I'm going to be basing my questions on what they say their policies are. So I'll be eliciting information. But I think first of all what we're going to get them to do is to give us a 5-minute spiel about what they have been standing for, what they're going to be standing for, and what they're going to do for us, and a little bit about what their background is and why they're qualified to be in this position. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome Hilary Humphrey to give us her 5-minute speech. Hilary.
Kia ora, Estate. Thanks, Dave. Yes, my name is Hilary Humphrey. I'm married to Jeff, and we have 4 children aged 5 to 14 who all attend various schools here in Fielding where we live. Look, I think I want to start by saying what an incredible privilege it's been to be a councillor over the last 3 years. And I do want to take a moment to say thank you to the community for sorry, a little bit of feedback there. But to say thank you for the trust and confidence that you placed in me at the last elections. I haven't ever taken that for granted, and I've worked really hard to earn your ongoing support. It has been a busy 3 years, I'm sure Stuart would agree, and I'm pretty happy with what I've contributed around the table. I was appointed chair of our community funding committee, so along with meeting regularly to consider funding applications from the community, I do really want to acknowledge my colleagues on the committee, which does include Stuart. We've led out a major review of all Council's community development activities, and in a few weeks' time we'll be formally adopting a new strategy that sets out the direction for Council work and funding over the coming years. Now that includes new social housing and environmental sustainability work streams, developing an action plan to prepare for our ageing population, as well as a strategy for our young people. Look, I've sat on our Creative Communities Funding Committee and kept a close eye, as Stuart will be able to testify to, on the council purse strings as a member of our Risk and Audit Committee. I think what I love the most is the opportunity to help local people when they've had issues with council, or they need help finding their way through what can be quite a complicated bureaucracy. One example of this was working alongside a group of local mums who really wanted to advocate for better playgrounds, particularly in Fielding. Now, we've made a number safer already, but sometimes these things take a little bit of time, and we've finally got some money this year to redevelop Kōwhai Park Playground and return it to its iconic status. Look, I work hard to keep connected with residents across the district and have attended all of our community committees around the place, and particularly in my role as liaison councillor for Rangawahia. I think a highlight for me was being selected to sit on Local Government New Zealand's National Council earlier this year. And now they advocate to and work with central government on the big issues that affect councils right across the country. So that role's been really helpful in giving me deeper insight into issues like climate change, the Three Waters Review, housing, regional development and transport. And that means I'm really well informed around the council table, as well as bringing the governance skills that I've worked really hard to develop and acquire as a chartered member of the Institute of Directors. Look, I also offer a pool of experience from my previous economic development and business management experience and my current role as a contractor for Third Bearing Consultants. We get to work on all sorts of really interesting projects, providing advice to clients across both the commercial and government sectors, and that obviously adds to the perspectives that I'm able to bring around the council table. I am really excited to be seeking the community's support for a second term as your councillor. I think that my work ethic and the results that I've achieved speak to my genuine passion for this community. Manawatu is at the very heart of Aotearoa, and I'm here because I care deeply about being part of the decisions that enable and future-proof this place we call home.
Awesome, thank you, Hilary. Next, I'd like to invite Stuart Campbell to give his introductory speech.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first off, if I could start with a little bit about me. I'm Manawatu born, bred, educated, and so are my children. I've got very deep family roots here in the Manawatu. My ancestor John Campbell arrived in the district about 130 years ago as a settler farmer. And another one of my ancestors was a man called William Carthew, who arrived in Fielding as an impoverished Cornish tin miner. And he settled here and opened a successful bookstore. So he didn't make any money until he arrived in Fielding. Over the years I've been constantly involved in many community activities, and these include clubs and organisations like Young Farmers, the Pipe Band, schools, Fielding Intermediate, Fielding High School, a number of sports including cricket and basketball, where I enjoyed a period coaching in schools and coaching my daughters through their careers, and Rotary. That's been very enjoyable too. So please don't ever say there's nothing to do in the Manawatu, because there's been plenty to keep me busy over the years. Now, my career's been here, based in Fielding, as a chartered accountant, and I've enjoyed working there with some outstanding people who've contributed, like many of us, to the development of our local community. Over the years, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been increasingly involved in some governance roles. The council is just one of those. But outside of council, I have some other roles, primarily in the intellectual disability field, social housing and community wellbeing sectors. And it's been quite enjoyable, as Hilary mentioned, to have done some extensive work at council this term on a community development strategy, which fits in very much along the social background that I've got. So why am I standing again for council? Well, as I said, I've always enjoyed a lot of community service and community involvement. I've met some great people and around the district, and I believe I have the community, business and governance experience that the council needs. What are the key issues facing us in this term coming up? Well, number one, I think, is to maintain a fair rating system. We had a little go at this last term, but we have to admit that we didn't get it right, and but I think we need to acknowledge that the rating system or the rates in Fielding CBD and Fielding Residential are pretty high, and I think we probably need to have another look at those. Secondly, there's the issue of protection of our Class 1 and 2 soils from urban sprawl. The Manawatu has some of the best agricultural land in the country, and we don't want to be like what's happening around in Auckland and building over some of our best soils. And the council has a work program coming up in the next 12 months to address this, and I'd very much like to be a part of that. And thirdly, it's about maintaining good governance. And I think we need to continue the good work that we've done, like as Hilary mentioned, in the last over the last 3 years. So good governance to me means good financial management, and that's about spending every dollar wisely. It's about having good risk management. It's being ready for adverse events like climatic change and storms and floods. It's about developing a good culture, and I believe we've got a very good culture at Council at the moment, much better than it's been in years past. It's about running effective meetings. It's about working together as a team, and I think that's been very good, and it's one thing I have enjoyed over these last 3 years. It's about holding to account, and I think that's the fun part for me, holding to account our senior management to make sure that Council sets good strategy and then ensures that it's done. And it's about asking the right questions, because sometimes we don't get presented the information that we really should be getting, and so we need to ask the right questions to make sure we get it. And lastly, developing issue, I guess, is to maintain good relationships with our iwi. The treaty partnership has developed between the Maori and the government over the last few years especially, and I believe it's critical that we have good relationships so that our development in the district can proceed. So look, I've enjoyed the 3 years that I've been able to spend on council very much. I think there's more work to be done. I think I have the skills that are of use there, and I would look forward for the opportunity to have 3 more years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stuart. In fact, I've got something in common with your ancestor, Mr. Carthew.
Right.
I used to live in a tin miner's cottage in Cornwall.
Right. Oh, very good.
Amber Dodge is our newbie on the scene. Newbie, but with lots and lots of passion. So please, Amber, give us your stuff.
That's right. Ko Amber tuku ingoa, ko waipa te awa, ko kakapuku te maunga, ko tainui te waka, ko Ngāti Mani o Poto te iwi, ko te kōpua te marae. This is where my family is from, but pretty much I've grown up with ko Oroa te awa, ko Ruahini te maunga, ko Ngāti Kōwhata te iwi, ko tainui te waka, and ko Kōwhata te marae. I have been born and bred here in the building, and I just love this place. And so I'm a full-time parent currently, and my husband runs his own business, so I do all of his accounts. And we have 2 children, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Before I had children, I worked in brain injury rehabilitation for 9 years, and during that time I learned a lot about communication. I did a lot of communication, personal development, because we had to have a lot of family group meetings, and we had meetings with the rehab coaches and rehab meetings with the professionals that help these clients that we were working with, and also dip my toes a little bit in the management. And using those skills that I learned in that 9 years working in that industry, I think will come in really handy running for government, running for local council. I've always enjoyed working with people and for people. I currently run a free cafe just for the community, just to come along and hang out and be fed and have coffee, and just so that I can hear their hearts and what it is that they want in life and how we can help them. yeah, probably one of my other favourite jobs I had was working in petrol stations, because you meet so many different types of people there, and it's just so great being able to connect with them. And so I feel that's a really good quality that I have, that I just am able to connect with people. I'm approachable, and I'm a really good listener, and I can take that time to listen to each side of a story, and I can weigh it up and work with that communication. So I was born and raised in Fielding, and I'm from a pretty big family. There's 7 siblings, and locally schooled, brought up in the parks, along the river. Just so many memories here. Fielding is a beautiful town, and I have great memories. I'm running for local council this year because who would pass up an opportunity to be a part of something that is bigger than just me or my family, but will ultimately affect our future. I believe strongly in learning from our older generations, and I feel that the local council, they represent our community, so the people in council should be representatives of the different parts of our community, not just one area. So I'm running because I love our families, I love our ageing generation, and I also want the best for our next generation. So I'm a homeowner, so love the rates. But I'm reading the long-term plans. I quite like what they've got in store for that. Like I said, I'm a business owner, and my children attend the local school and kindies in our community. I have a passion to work with groups to lower isolation rates in our ageing community, but also in our families. We have a lot of new families coming here, and it would be great to be able to work with that. And I really enjoyed what Stuart said, just about developing those meaningful relationships with the local iwi. It is really important in this day and age, and yeah.
Thank you so much, Amber. Let's give these people a clap. So we've heard from Hilary, Stuart and Amber. I'd like now to hand over to Dave again, who's going to introduce our entertainment.
Well, as started, there's a variety of people, that are in the 3 that we have tonight with Hilary, Stuart and Amber, coming from different backgrounds, different perspectives, and the path ahead is a little bit different for each and every one of them. And Amber's got a big road to hoe. She's decided to put her hand up, and congratulations for that. That's important. We're going to be back getting... somebody once said tearing the scab off these people, but it's not quite that. It's actually digging just a little bit deeper to find out exactly what is important and what they want to try and achieve during the next term of council. Meantime, entertainment is part of what we do in these evenings, and as I mentioned earlier, our entertainer tonight, Kathy Keen, is a little bit of folk. She says she's folk. Some people think she's a bit of country, but she also does original songs. And I think as a musician, that's a very, very good thing if you can achieve it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kathy Keen.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Kathy Keen, and I write my own songs. So the first one I'll do is called Older Eyes. I remember the day you told me our world would be changing soon. I remember how hard you hugged me when I told you I was scared. I remember the look in your eyes. I made my decision then to be the one you could lean on whenever you needed a friend. Looking back through older eyes, you can see why I didn't realize the level of darkness we were in, how your world was caving I remember how you played along, all the acts you would put on, just to make sure it all felt the same. The hope we would have it all again. Through all the struggle you played it cool, always asked me how was school. Walking home hand in hand, whilst in your head were swirling plans. Looking back through older eyes, you can see why I didn't realize the level of darkness we were in, how your world was caving. There were, of course, many days your thoughts were covered in a haze. I'd turn away when I'd cry, I'd fight to hold my head up high. We'd snuggle up on the couch, our favorite chocolate all around. We'd forget about the trouble for a while, maybe a comedy to make you smile. Looking back through older eyes, you can see why I didn't realize the level of darkness we were in, how your world was caving. Looking back through older eyes, you can see why I didn't realize the level of darkness we were in, how your world was caving, how your world was caving. Thank you.
I'd like to mention the sponsors tonight: Video Hub, Watson's Real Estate, Drover's Bar and Kitchen, Your Essential Wellbeing, and Eventech. Right, Astarte, is your mic on?
Right here. Yes, I'm live. Yay. I didn't switch mine off. Hilary, climate change is a topical subject now, and I believe you've got some ideas about how fielding, in particular, can start to tackle their part of the story. Would you like to inform us about that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, it's no surprise to anyone. It's all across papers. We've covered it recently about whether or not we declare climate change emergency. Voted not to do it as a council because in an emergency situation, actually councils, the normal process is suspended and they're taken. So we thought that sent the wrong message. But I do believe, and I think most people would acknowledge, it is an issue we need to address this emergency. And we've spent over $15 million in the last decade on emergencies already for these area direct performances. And I would like to see us being more proactive rather than reactive. We have signalled this environmental sustainability strategy, but I think the key for me is that actually, although our long-term plan references climate change as a risk, we don't have enough data and analysis that really helps us quantify and understand what the risks really are in Australia. And we need to get out and on top of that, gather that information so then we can make really informed decisions about how we need to invest to future-proof and protect our infrastructure.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Hilary. I'm going to go to Amber now. Amber, you're the youngest person standing in the fielding electorate. What are you doing it for? Why would you stand being so young? And what do you want to get out of this?
Raising up younger councillors as well, just to ultimately people are going to get older and they might not want to be doing that job anymore, and so we want to be able to build up these younger people coming up from the bottom so that we know that our town is left in safe and knowledgeable hands. Yeah.
And if you had three skills that you have that you believe you could utilise as an elected member of the council, what would those three skills be?
I'm a good listener and I'm approachable, so I feel that I can get into different parts of the community that feel like they may not have a voice and they may not able to be heard, so that was one of my skills. I love reading because, you know, council is a lot of reading.
I'm sure they provide plenty of paperwork.
And the third one, I think I'm fair and honest, and being able to, you know, read and make those decisions. So, yeah.
Some would say that's almost an oxymoron, putting the word honest and fair and politicians in the same sentence. But you won't hear it from me.
Wasn't me.
You wouldn't hear it from me.
I'd like to think that we're going to get some more fairer and honest councillors all over the country, actually. I think it's something that we can aspire to. Stuart. Rural subdivision is a big hot topic locally, in fact throughout the whole of the Middle Districts region. What's your take on it in terms of fielding?
Well, look, there's a lot of people want to live in the country, and I'm one of those. I live in the country, but I work in town, and there's half of the people that work in fielding, I imagine, live in the country. And I don't have a problem with that, but what's happened over the years is that more and more rural land in our area, especially closer to town, has been carved off for 5 acre, 10 acre blocks, and it's just a waste, in my opinion, just an absolute waste. Our current rules set out that basically while there's limited subdivision, it can still happen, but houses have to be 100 metres apart, and they're able to dispose of their own wastewater on the property. So what that has resulted in is a whole lot of these 5 and 10 acre blocks, which is in most cases just a waste, because people just really are looking for a house with a bit of space, and it's just
the Kiwi dream, Stuart.
Well, it's sure, but you can have a Kiwi dream on 1 acre, and why do you have to have 5 or 10?
So you're saying it's uneconomic for a start?
Well, they are, yeah. And so what I'd like to see is there's been quite a bit of small-scale subdivision around our rural village nodes, and that's like Colleton, Huanui, not so much in Rogatia, but we've got other villages as well, like Cheltenham, right to the west. Those are the places, in my opinion, that we should be focusing on allowing these larger lifestyle type blocks, but not necessarily putting 5 and 10 acres all over the place and having a house every 100 metres in the district, which is what we're going to end up with very, very soon if we're not careful.
Just imagine the infill housing. When somebody comes in with a different idea.
That's right. But again, once this property is subdivided, you're never going to put it back into farmland.
No.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? You're saying that council have got to be stricter on minimum size blocks?
Well, yeah, that's one option. So instead of having a minimum size of what 10 acres was that, 4 hectares, we could look at putting it up to say 20. And you know, I guess you can make a small dollar off 20 hectares. It's difficult, but even at that size, it's really uneconomic. But yeah, just a proliferation of housing all around the rural areas is not good. Especially not on our land, which is, as I said, top quality. Some of the best land in New Zealand. If you look at the Kairinga, all of our, not so much the hills, but the flat land anyway, is prime.
Yeah, well, Franklin Council have got the same problem, isn't it, with as you mentioned earlier, with looking at residentialising very, very good cropping land.
That's right.
And surely we can't be that stupid.
No. I mean, there's areas in the country which are zoned a lot less than 1 and 2. Now, you know, there's places that are 6, 7 and 8. Now, that's where the houses should be.
When people talk about Fielding, everybody says, if I say to somebody, what's the good thing about Fielding? They say, no parking meters. It's almost a one-issue town. You know, and I suppose you've got hitching rails for the horses as well. But you know, it's the moment somebody decides to put a parking meter in town is probably we're going to have midday lynchings, I guess. But Fielding has got to be more than that. You know, there's got to be problems.
Yeah.
There's got to be major problems that need to be sorted and need to be sorted quickly. Because every town, every city has those.
Exactly, sure do. Yeah. Do you want an example?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our CBD rating, as I mentioned earlier, has got a little bit out of hand. Some 20 years ago, we did a CBD development. You know, we did the paving, flossied up the square. You know, I think that's well and truly paid off. And yet there's a targeted rate to the CBD which is still in place. And with as time's gone on, some of our earthquake-prone buildings have gone down and down and down in value, yet their rates have gone up and up and up. So there just needs to be a little bit of work done there to have a look at that and get that back into line, or else have another CBD redevelopment. But and we're looking at that at the moment.
Thanks, Stuart. Moving on, kind of along the same line, Hilary, you have some concern about the economic stability and growth, especially with new people coming in from outside, you know, out of towners, perhaps wanting to settle here, and so on, people from Ahakia and so on. What do you think is the solution to the burgeoning population?
Yeah, look, I think actually, you know, many of the indicators would show that our economy is in a really strong position, and we've got a huge amount of investment, you know, coming through the pipeline. You think about what the new Gorge Highway, the work that's going on at Ohakia. There's a lot of investment taking place that gives us a really solid base. But I am mindful that, you know, we're in a global context, you know, where there's some political unrest and tension and some economic headwinds, and you know, many of our key businesses are actually small and medium enterprises, and they're facing a number of challenges, you know, dealing with earthquake-prone building legislation, you know, thinking about succession planning, you know, a growing number of businesses choosing to operate from home. And I think, you know, we've looked really carefully over the last 3 years at social, cultural, environmental wellbeing as part of the community development strategy I mentioned earlier. But I really want to get my teeth into the economic stuff, and I know that strategy's sitting as one of the first cabs off the rank for the new council. And given that that's what I trained in and have worked in, you know, I would really like to be part of that conversation. And I think within that, there's some room for council to be thinking about our procurement practices as well. You know, if you consider that we, you know, have planned to spend $32 million on capital expenditure for this last financial year, you know, I think there's an opportunity for us to look at the criteria. You know, lowest cost, most efficient. Cost is always going to be front and centre. We want to keep things affordable for the ratepayer, but I think there's an opportunity for us to be looking at some criteria and weighting around, you know, buying local, supporting local businesses, job creation locally, or, you know, for businesses that are tendering, you know, do they have environmentally sustainable practices? You know, there's all sorts of things that we can use to influence good outcomes for the community with our purchasing power.
Lovely, thanks very much indeed, Hilary. A very quick response, please, Amber, if you can. You have a logo, a slogan, if you like. Fielding Heartbeat. Tell us what that means.
Well, fielding is about the people, so so our families, they're the heartbeat of this town. Our elderly, they're the heartbeat of this town, and our next generation are the heartbeat of this town. And I just want to be their voice and, help make a change and work along with these amazing people. It's just awesome. You guys are cool.
We'll come back in just a moment. We want to talk. I'd like to ask each of the people here tonight what they see as council's role in housing, particularly for the elderly, and what could change, what could improve. Tonight, of course, now that I've got a battery, sponsored by Video Hub, Watson's Real Estate, Drovers Bar and Kitchen. Saw some super pizzas out there before too, by the way. Your Essential Wellbeing and Event Tech. So we're going to come back in just a moment. We're going to continue the discussions with our two sitting councillors and one contender for a council position. Meantime, let's take a musical break once again. Kelly Keane is with us tonight. She does original music, and time to hear another one. Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy Keane.
And it's actually the first one that I wrote. Hope you enjoy it. She runs home carrying her phone. She wants to take this call alone. She says she'll text you, but heaven knows she won't. The guy on the other line likes to trick girls to pass the time. She thinks he loves her, but heaven knows he don't. But you love her even when she is bad to you, and you love her even when she don't deserve you. You worship the ground she walks. You wish to stroke her auburn locks. She says she likes you, but maybe not right now. You stand by her even when she's wrong. You don't see how she strings you along. You say you love her, but no one's sure quite how. But you love her even when she is bad to you, and you love her even when she don't deserve you. She didn't see how you were always there. She never really seemed to care. You ask for a chance. She says, baby, not right now. Now your blindfold has been ripped. You now see how you have to quit. You don't like being her Mr. Not right now. But you love her even when she is bad to you, and you love her even when she don't deserve you. Pain tears away the veil from your eyes. You now see through her divine disguise. You've always been her Mr. Not right now. You've always been her Mr. Not right now. How could you love her even when she is bad to you? Why did you love her when she didn't deserve you? There's no more Mr. Not right now. No, there's no more Mr. Not right now. No, there's no more Mr. Not right now. No, there's no more Mr. Not right now.
Welcome back to Community Banter. We're here at in Fielding, and we're looking at really the Manawatu District Council, 2 sitting councillors and 1 wannabe councillor. So, Astarte, time for questions from the floor, do you think?
It certainly is. You happy to go out, or do you want me to go?
No, I'll go out, and anyone that has any questions that would like to ask any of our people here tonight, either Hilary, Stuart, or Amber. Anyone, just put your hand up and we'll come across to you. Anyone that would like any questions? Don't be shy.
Biting them off.
Okay, let's go across and have a chat to the lady. She's got a question for one or all. Take your time. There we are.
Thank you. This is a question about the housing, and following on from what Stuart said about the rural development and decreasing the amount of big lawn that's going out there. Has the council got plans for improving urban redevelopment so that we have more infill housing, so that we use the land that's already connected to the urban networks?
Who would like to answer that?
Yeah, well, look, we're certainly encouraging infill. It's one big solution. The second thing is we've opened up a huge amount of area, 100 odd hectares in the Ferriston Street area, Precinct 4. There's going to be space there for something like 10 to 15 years of new housing development, hopefully, and the plan is for section sizes there to be down to about 500 square metres, so they can be quite small. 600 square metres. So, we're going to have a lot of space for new houses, and that's a bit of a luxury that some other districts don't have. So, hopefully that might be, somewhere else that people can build rather than out in the country.
Could I interject here with a little question to either one of you incumbents? What about going upwards slightly?
Yeah, well, look, when we were consulting and talking with the community about the new Fielding Town Centre vision, that was one of the questions that we were asking is, what are people's perspectives? The current district plan rules do allow for apartments on first floor, and we just wanted to sense check that and say, is that something you're still comfortable with, or, and or ground floor? People didn't really like the idea of those rolling down the street, watching them watch TV in their lounge. But, first floor apartments are certainly something. I think there's some real potential in that space. We're definitely having a lot of conversation with Manawatu Community Trust, who are our housing trust. They've had done some fabulous work over the years, but they are, facing some constraints, looking for property that they can develop, and I think that's important too, because if they're able to increase their stock of supply, particularly for our seniors, then in fact that frees up other property in the market, and we all know how hard the rental market is at the moment.
Perhaps if I could add, we're also trying to encourage, and in line with the earthquake-prone building problem we've got in the CBD, it's over time that we could get a few more people living in the CBD, and that'll be upstairs, above the retail area. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a fact of life that small town retail is a lot tougher than it used to be, and I think we've seen quite a decline in the number of shops in Fielding, and I suspect that will probably continue, but we've got a pretty vibrant community down around here with the number of cafes and the movie theatre and places like that, so it'd be a pretty good place to live.
Amber, did you want to say something on the housing?
Say something on the housing. Yeah, I think it's really important with our population, ageing population going to be increasing, that we do have adequate housing for them. But there's also people out there who are struggling to find rentals and are staying in caravan parks or motels. So yeah, if we can do something about that, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Dave.
Anyone else have a question for the panellists tonight?
There's one
down the back. Oh, there. Let me just come down behind you. All right, or is yours? You can all three, or ask all three, or just pick one.
I'm really sorry. It's on theme. It's about housing again. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, as well as new private houses being built, I am very aware that there are a lot of people in the community, whether they're Manawatu, born or bred, or immigrants like us, who can't afford an average, you're looking at £500,000 house. So what I want to ask the council members, are there plans that are made public to show over the next 10, 20 years what affordable housing for socially people that aren't quite in the, that range to buy a $500,000 house? And are they publishing these plans so people can get a foothold? The people that are working 2, 3 jobs and still can't afford an $80,000 or $100,000 deposit. So I'm just wondering what plans are. But we hear a lot about social housing, but I want to see, is it actually down on paper, a plan that everybody can go and see? Thank you.
Look, I'm happy to answer that, and I'll give you an honest answer, which is apparently unusual for a politician. The honest answer to your question is no, not yet. It's one of the areas that we heard really clearly from the community when we were consulting on our community development strategy. So what we've said is when we rubber stamped that new strategy on the 19th of September, I think it is, and that's press go day to identify a social housing plan. So we will get to that point where we've got a plan that outlines a 30-year view of how we want to achieve that, across all ages and stages in terms of housing. We know it's a piece of work that needs to happen, but we don't have it right now.
That's correct. Yeah. It's interesting. One of the other, social housing is actually not a primary responsibility of local government, unfortunately. And while we do have a minor role through the pensioner housing that we run through the Manawatu Community Trust, there's no significant social housing aspect to it at this time. But it's something we've talked about extensively over the last 3 years as to how we could develop that. One of the other hats that I wear, as I mentioned before, is I'm a director of Trust House in Masterton, now it's an interesting scenario over there because the Housing Corporation handed over their portfolio of 500 odd houses to the Masterton Community Trust some years ago. That hasn't happened in too many other places in the country. So those ex-Housing Corp homes are locally run. That's not the case in Fielding. We don't have a lot of Housing Corp houses here, but they're not run at all by any local direct involvement. So it's a slight difference. I'm not sure that we'd really want a whole lot of old ex-Housing Corp houses. The maintenance costs would be fairly large, I imagine, but at least it does provide, for an important sector of the market.
Look, I think if I had a magic wand, I would really like to work in partnership with the Housing New Zealand, because when you look at the size of some of the sections that those houses are on, there's a real opportunity for us to infill and to develop, multiple properties that still allow people privacy and space and a quality of decent housing. That might be me getting my magic wand out, but that's one of the things I'd like us to be thinking about as we go forward.
All right, well, look, anyone else got any questions they'd like to ask the people at the front? Have we covered the housing satisfactorily for you, madam, down the back? You have. You're happy with the answer? All right, well, let me come back.
I've got a cheeky question that I'd like to put to somebody. Who can we be mean to? Amber, if $1 million was granted by a benefactor for you to put into something to do with Fielding Council, what would you put it into?
Housing. Emergency housing or housing. Yeah. But that wouldn't do much.
It wouldn't go very far, would it?
Go far at all. No.
We've only got $1 million.
It's interesting, Stuart, you made the comment that community housing or housing is not really the council's responsibility, other than the pensioner housing and things that you've talked about. I think the time has probably come for councils to relook at that, because at the end of the day, residents are people. That's people right. Need a house. And I go to wonder whether maybe the council looks at buying some land. People can put 2 and 3 bedroom units, elderly people may be on it, and they don't buy the section because that tends to be where the costs are, but they lease it for maybe 100 years or whatever the case is going to be. Maybe we're going to look at things differently in order to get people into proper housing. And if you have a situation like that, you can move the older people out of 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom homes that probably are not as warm and as comfortable as they could be, and there's only 1 or 2 of them there, the family home, into something new and modern and create some opportunities for families.
That's right. No, you did right, Dave. The interesting thing about pensioner housing, of course, is that pensioner housing is really social housing, isn't it? What's the difference?
Well, the difference is they own the properties.
No, not in the case of the Maratu Community Trust, they don't.
No, but I'm saying we could have a situation where they can own the property if the costs are kept, like council development costs are kept absolutely minimum, council own the land, and just a long-term lease.
Yeah.
That would cut probably $150,000 off the price of a house.
Yeah, well, I think it's just part of the New Zealand lifestyle, isn't it? That when you're young and have a young family, you can't afford a very good, you're in a small, cheap house. When you're older and hopefully got a little bit more cash in the bank, you've got probably a nice, if you've saved well, you've got a nice house and no kids living in it. So, there's a lot of empty wasted space, if you think about it in that way.
So it is important to each of you. Housing is something that you're well aware of. It's something that, Amber, obviously it does affect you. You're well aware of it. Yeah. And is there anything else that the council have as the 3 biggies that they want to attack on this term? Stuart, what are your 3? And Hilary, I can ask you what your 3 are that you hope to make a difference on in the next term, should you be returned?
Did you want to go first? I can go first. There are more than 3 things that I want to do. So
don't be greedy.
Hey, look, I'm here because I care. There's a lot that I want to achieve and contribute. I guess I've probably touched on a couple already tonight. Our ageing population I've championed right from the get-go. I stood on that platform last term, and we're going to be developing a local action plan that helps us prepare for that population. So really want to do that. And I think the other big one for me is around transport and safety. So both getting out in front and actually planning to improve the increasing congestion and risk that we're seeing at intersections around town, as well as public bus transport. You live on the west side of town, you can get over to the health centre okay for an appointment, but you've got to go via Palmerston North to get home again. And with an ageing population, I think, really would be good if people can get in and out of town, stay independent, stay connected, and that's got to be good for the CBD and business too.
All right, Stuart, your 3?
Yeah, well, I mentioned rating earlier on, and just the point is we've got an incredibly complex rating system. There's 3 by 6 differentials. There's a whole lot of targeted rates. There's a whole long list of fees and charges, longer than my arm. I think we can do a bit of work to simplify that. Nobody understands it at the moment, including, I believe, pretty much every councillor. It just needs some simplification. Now, I didn't understand it well enough last term. I think I've got a better understanding of it now, and I think I can do some work to provide some simplification.
Okay. And we've already spoken. Housing is your number 1. What's number 2 and 3?
Really well planned out green spaces that are generationally friendly. So we've got a lot of families moving into Fielding with the Ohakia move and all that stuff going on. So they want good playgrounds and also green spaces for people to go for walks. A lot of grandparents look after their grandchildren these days, so you want it to be accessible for them and enjoyable for them as well as the children and as the parents.
So for the Maratu District Council, how many seats are there and how many candidates all up?
There's 10 councillors, 1 mayor, that's 11. And I believe we've got 7 people going for 5 spots in Fielding and 8 people for 5 spots in the rural ward.
Oh, so there is a little bit of a competition going there. Okay, that's a good thing. So you're both happy to put your hand up again, and I think you should be congratulated because after all, you are making a contribution to the community. And Amber, you too, because you decided we want to do something, or I want to do something, and you should be congratulated as well.
Thank you.
Well, Starter, it's wrapping up another one.
Yep. 2 out of 3.
And we've learnt a lot tonight, I think.
Absolutely.
What these people stand for.
Very, very happy to have met you all and thrilled with what you're planning for your potential future. Good luck to you all.
Thank you. And special thanks to Kathy Keane. Kathy, for your songs tonight. Great voice, good guitar style. I hope we see a lot more of you because I think we deserve to. Congratulations, and I'd love to think that in the future more people will know about Kathy Keane as a musician, and that's fantastic, and writing her own songs. Fantastic stuff as well. So that's really it for Out of the Week. We're going to be back next Tuesday, and from Fielding, from the same place. We'd just like to mention our thanks to Video Hub, Watson Real Estate, Drovers Bar and Kitchen, and Your Essential Wellbeing, and Event Tech. We look forward to catching you back next Tuesday at 7 o'clock online and on YouTube. We'll have more people who wish to stand for council and more sitting councillors. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Good night.